Hello.
Hi
Hello,
there,
hello. Good. How are you? Good to see
GM,
you.
GM.
you guys. PM.
I'm so excited for this session. Hey guys, I'm Fib. I'm the lead of BD for Super Team Canada, and I'm here with Sofian from DePitch and Legends.fun, as well as our lead for Super Team Canada, Simon.
Good to be here.
It is good to be here. So this masterclass is going to be useful for any founder, whether you're competing in the Frontier Coliseum competition or just trying to level up your pitch in general. I am so excited to have Sophie in here with us tonight. Firstly, I will say something about Coliseum and the Frontier competition. This competition is a avenue to potentially get into the Coliseum Accelerator and receive $250,000 in pre-seed funding. There's also $200,000 in prizes that will be distributed across 20 teams. And all it really takes is to submit a 3-minute pitch video and a 3-minute demo video. And if you make it through, you may get an interview and cross your fingers for the results. That is live now. You can still register at Coliseum, and that runs until May 11th. Simon, I'm going to throw it to you to add your 2 cents.
Some flavor to this conversation, definitely. We're at 15,500 registrations for this global startup competition. This is our fourth as a team, and Sophie, and I don't know which one this is for you, but this is definitely like a very interesting setup here for this Coliseum Frontier. Of course, we have almost 250 Canadians that have signed up for this competition. And our focus, of course, as Super Team Canada, is supporting all those Canadians that are participating in this hackathon. And so we're like really happy to have you here today because, as you know, with 15,000 registrants, they're going to be looking at potentially thousands and thousands of submissions coming in to them at the end of the submission date, which is May 11th. And so we need to make sure that all the Canadians and everybody around the world are submitting the best pitch possible for these teams, for these judges to look at. So here we are today to make sure that everyone is there, educated, and got the best knowledge and the best edge available to them, the ones that are paying attention anyways, to make sure that their pitch is refined and accurate and concise and grabs the attention of the judges when they are processing thousands of these submissions. So I'll hand it off to you, Sofian, to kind of take us away.
Let's go. Hey guys, hey Fib, hey Simon. Thank you so much for having me. I will kick off the workshop and share my screen. So let's put the screen on and we'll go. All right, let's do it. So welcome to this workshop. As Fib and Simon said, your pitch is the first thing and maybe the only thing that the judges will see. That's the first touch point into the competition, and that's their layer of getting you to the next step. So I'm Sofian. I'm the founder of Legends.fun, which is a product discovery platform for Solana products to get visibility and prove their traction, and of DePitch, the pitch academy of Solana. So today, program is first we will go through the framework. So the pitch deck itself. I will share with you all the structure with real examples of winning teams and the slide-by-slide breakdown, so you know exactly how to build your pitch. But the pitch deck is just the first part. I will also share 10 techniques that you should apply, especially for your delivery, to make sure that you have the best pitch possible. And we'll have a quick Q&A at the end. You can drop your questions in the chat. All right, briefly about our story at DePitch. All happened 4 hackathons back, Colosseum Radar, where my co-founder and myself were working on a product called Tokamai. That's when we won the hackathon and got accepted into Colosseum Accelerator and went through this whole journey. I still remember Ansel and I, we live in different time zones, so we gathered for the last week in Vietnam and locked ourselves for 3 days in Airbnb and only on the pitch. So we worked on the story, the transitions, the slides, the hook, but also it was a rehearsed session. So Ansel was the one pitching, and he rehearsed at least 50 times. And I will show you how you can do that too and how to do that. But long story short, people really liked the pitch, like not only the submission, but many said that the pitch was outstanding, great, way ahead about compared with other ones, and it worked. So it got us the win and the entry into this accelerator. 1 year and a half later, we're here with DePitch, and we're now sharing this framework with all builders. It led 16 to claim Colosseum prizes, teams to raise 2.5 million in ICO or private funding, and 3 teams into Colosseum. So this framework, I hope you can use it as well. So as those teams, you can not only win a hackathon, but also get to fundraise like Surf Cash, like Fair Scale, but also use it in any events like the one we did in Dubai in December that got us to win the Global Demo Day. So overall, why I'm saying all that is because once you master it once, it's a tool and a weapon that you can use everywhere and that you can use to your own advantage. The unfair advantage is that not all teams and not so many teams will put the right level of intention in their pitching. So when you do, you already are in the top 10% and your chances increase dramatically. But first, let me ask you a question. Do you think you can beat the final boss without going through all the game's quests? That would probably get you straight to a game over. But yet that's how many builders approach their pitch. Like with no framework, they don't know what to put in the pitch. They do it last minute. They don't rehearse so much. They have a weak traction at the end of the hackathon. And overall, they are pitching more a concept rather than a scalable business. Because you're here today, that's not going to be you. So let's jump into a few intro words before we jump into the framework. So I guess you're here because you want to win Colosseum Frontier. So let's check out the playground. As Simon said, it's you against 1,500, even more probably this time. So I know that you work with your team. You probably go to the super team events. So you feel, yeah, it's a group of people with like 40, 50. But it's very important to always keep in mind the competition. It's a massive playground, and without a great pitch, it will be very hard to get noticed. The acceptance rate of the Colosseum Accelerator is actually lower than Y Combinator. It's really insane. So the process, as you know, is if you get to win the hackathon, then 10 of those teams will get into the accelerator. So as you see, the submissions are increasing hackathon after hackathons. Like probably this one, it might even go to 2,000. Let's see. And if you don't do a good pitch, your chances drop to 0. All right. First, I want to share with you why pitches fail, and then I will go into the solution. And I say that not based on experience. Over the last year, I've trained one-on-one more than 200 teams, and it helped me spot all the patterns that kill the pitch. So let me share that. First, if you don't have a strong hook, like the first 15 seconds are really, really important. That's where you need to do something creative to have the attention and to keep the attention all the way through the end of your pitch. The second is trust. Like it's not only what you say, but also how you say it. Like if you speak in future hopes rather than concrete fact, about data about your problem, concrete traction about what you've built, then it will be hard to build trust with you as a founder. And this is also the way you present can really kill how we perceive your whole pitch. Then the pain. I like to say that if you sell me the problem, you don't need to sell me the solution. It's because if you miss this window to prove that there is a real pain point, that you know why it exists, and that you made your homework to really have data to back what you say, and it needs to be big enough, like worth solving, then we won't really be listening to the solution and all the rest. Number 4, the slides themselves. Honestly, you have no excuse this day not to do a good design deck with all the AI tool we have. So nothing cluttered, something very simple. If you see the previous winners, you will see very simple decks. That's also one of the guidelines of Colosseum. Nothing fancy, super beautiful, or just something simple that works. And number 5, it's the most difficult, is if there is nothing memorable. So at the end of the day, like, what do you want them to remember about you? Just one sentence. And you need to think about that and then embed it in your pitch so that at the end they will have this sentence when they want to talk about you with another judge, or in the selection process. So it's really important that there is something I remember, like a wow moment that I never heard before, or that's something you achieved that is extremely amazing. So that's what you want to avoid. But those 5 things will be addressed today. So no worries about that. So what to do? First, it's about knowing the audience. Luckily, all the judging is public. You can go on the Frontier Colosseum Hackathon website and check the judges. What to keep in mind is that those guys are super busy founders or investors or ecosystem partners. They will hear many presentations in a row, right? The pitches are split between judges, but they will hear so many. So you have to hook their attention so that they remember. And what I want to say here, it's really important. It's that it's not just because you recorded your video and you send it over in your submission that the judges will watch it completely and fully. So interest is earned every 30 seconds of your pitch funnel. So you need to find ways with transitions, with breaking the rhythm or the tension, to have them be hooked all the way through. And it's if there is doubt about what you say, about the data, about the traction, if there is things that are too complex, the audience will be out and won't come back. You need to position yourselves as a judge, right? So, or as yourself when you scroll any short format video, like after 5, even less, after 2-3 seconds, if you want to watch it or not. And unfortunately, that's the reality. It will be the same with your pitch. So make sure that the hook is there and that we want to go all the way through your video. All right, so let's move on to the pitch deck. So it's a very short time, but it doesn't mean you need to rush. If you build it well, if you rehearse it well, it needs to be relaxed, natural, and easy to understand. So your slides are actually a support for your message. If they are too complex, we will start to try to read them too much, and then we will be unfocusing from you, and you should always be the spotlight of the video. So you need to keep them very clean, simple, and focused, and have only one rule: one slide is one message. There is no such rules about the number of slides you should have or should not have, 5, 10, 15. That doesn't exist, because you can have one slide that is just one big image, or one slide that is just one big transition message to create a change of the rhythm. So it's actually better to split more, because it will help you have more rhythm, and present will be more easier to present. So, for example, you don't want complex slides with words that we may not know. You don't want too simple slides. If you don't do an effort on your brand, honestly, it looks like it's draft. The pitch also embed the level of readiness that you have with your project. It's same as your landing page. So do the effort to build a small brand identity, to have clean slide with this brand identity visible. It's also important to bring the judge and the audience into your world and show that you don't do it like a last minute on Google Slides with very simple slides and fonts. Something I see a lot, for example, here as a roadmap, because you're going to do so many things, you put all what you want to do in the slide, and then it becomes impossible to understand and to read. So also don't do complex slide with too much words. Words are the killer of your deck. Keep it simple. Titles, 3-4 words per slides, nothing too detailed. All right, so the framework now is very easy. Honestly, like no rocket science. 4 parts, and I will give you the examples. First is the problem you solve and your solution. Second is your value proposition to the users and the product demo. So this is the concept part of the things. And then we go to the business side, the market, business model, traction, and you conclude with your roadmap, so where you're going, and your team, why you're the best to deliver. And that's it, that's it. So I will take 6 previous winners that are very close to our ecosystem, and some of them we worked with directly, to show you what good looks like. So you just need to check those slides, check this framework, and apply it to yourself. All right, so let's go. So first is your intro slide. A very simple slide. We need to see your logo, which is usually your product name. Then a one-liner that says what you do. If you want, you can add your profile picture with your name, optional, and deck title optional. Like for example, Frontier Colosseum submission, but that's not mandatory. What you need to do here is to understand that it's the first time that I get in touch and discover you. So take your time, introduce yourself clearly, why you are here today, brief, don't rush, and then jump into the problem slide right away, right? Half of the deck I see, half of the pitch I see, they rush this slide too much. Actually, that's an advice for the whole deck. If you want to rush because you want to say so many things in 3 minutes, it will not work. So relax. Hi, my name is, and I'm the founder of. We do blah, blah, blah. And problem slide. That's it. For example, Surfcash, the neobank for people who move. And one image that we can easily understand, you're a neobank, I can access on my phone. So, we need to understand what it is, not something visionary, transformation for the industry, we transform, blah, blah, blah. With very simple words. So neobank, we all know what it is. People who move, you give some words about your target user profile, which is here, like nomads. Nomu, Kickstarter that actually pays you. So here they use another technique. They compare themselves with something everybody knows, Kickstarter, but they explain how they are different because they pay back the user when the product sells. So, try to find some techniques. If you're doing something very, very that everybody knows on Web 2 and you're doing on Web 3, then you can use that to go faster to the understanding who you are. Or you can talk a bit about your target user or what you are and have a small image so that we can easily understand. Then you jump directly into the problem slide. The problem slide is not like a list of 3 or 4 problems. It's the main problem you solve. Right? So you want to really focus and find what's the main thing we solve for the users. So you explain this problem. Then you explain the consequences of the problem if it's unsolved. And you try to have data to back this pain. So for example, here for Nomu, they had 67% of Kickstarter users never return, so no retention. Then they explain why. It's because the experience is bad. You support a product, you wait a long time, and you just get a gift. Right? Not super cool to be engaged as an early adopter. And to back and to bring some emotion to it, they had some image about a guy that looks super desperate on his sofa. So you can also play with images here so that we really feel, the bad experience that you're solving. So what is a bad experience usually? Very simple: losing money, losing time. That's the two things that usually we solve, or a missed opportunity, which is a bit harder to present as a problem, but you can still go this way. So focus on the most critical problem, show that there is an urgency to solve it. It's really good to add some very recent news that happened in the ecosystem, use tweet screenshots or media article to show that it's real, it's happening now, and we should care now. And of course, make sure the problem resonates with your audience, right? So here it's an important thing. If it's obvious, don't spend too long on the problem. For example, I see many slides about vibe trading, or the ICO crash, token crashing after ICO, and so on. Like, everybody knows that, so you don't need to over-explain it. But if it's something more niche, or you think the audience might not know, then you need to spend more time to educate a bit on the problem. For example, here for Spend, how they present it is neobanks and crypto debit card startups are popping up, which is kind of a market trend. And then they're like, but it's limited by geolocation, KYC is required, and crypto cards are banned in some countries. So it was like, okay, people want to do that, but they can't do that. And here we come, right? So we can almost feel the transition with the solution right after this slide. For Surfcash, it's actually a problem that happens in some emerging countries. That's their focus markets. And for example, they started in Vietnam. So what happens there is that there is a local system, a QR code that you need to scan. And if you don't have a local card, local bank account, and the local app, you cannot pay. So basically, you go on the street, want to get a street food, and you can't, because you can only pay with this local QR code. Like, same in Thailand, same in Cambodia, and so on. But someone who never been there might not know that. So here you need to do a small bite of education. That's why they had this picture when you see someone scanning the QR code at a food stall, right? So just make sure that we follow you. It's not because it's obvious for you that we all know. So always take a bit of time to educate. Okay, now between the problem and the product, there is a transition. And this transition is your value proposition. So this is just one sentence that shows what can I get if I use your product, right? So imagine that you directly talk to your user. So if you're Nomu, you would say pre-order products and earn when they sell. If you Spend, you would be like, buy anything with stable coins, right? Anyone can understand that. And as a user, I can feel the value instantly, right? So you have this small transition slides between the problem and the solution. And you can use transitions. I will get to that later. But this is why we built, etc. Then we want to understand, how does it work? So before the demo, it's good to have like a slide that shows the main features. It can be a user journey, like, browse, add to cart, pay, very simple. It can be a list of 3 features that I get. So for Surfcash, pay like a local, your money works, so you get yield, and you get perks as a traveler. So this is presented as feature, but also as a benefit to the user. It's good to have that just as a context before you jump into your demo. But after that, we want to see exactly how it works. So that's when the demo comes in. And for the demo, you need to follow this guideline. Embed it inside your slide. Just simply go through the user experience, but focus on the main feature, like download the app, connect your wallet, do that, and boom, that's it, right? Something super simple. One of the problems of demo slides, usually either they are like too fancy, so they're like music and stuff, or they are too fast because teams want to show the whole product, so they like accelerate the demo, and like it's going a bit of everywhere, and like we are rushed and lost. So you will just pick up your main feature, go through it live, no background music, just continue to pitch your deck, and try to add like in situation usage. And that's it, you know, like it should be 20 seconds, can go up to 30 seconds, no more than that. And don't have it too late as well. You know, I talked about intro, problem, solution, value proposition, demo, features and demo. We want to see what you're doing not too late in the process. On 3 minutes, some teams would come up with a demo at 2 minute 10, 2 minute 20. It's too late. The audience is always impatient. They want to understand what you're doing. So don't wait too long. Make sure it's positioned in the right space in your pitch. Then we come into the business side. So here is very important. It's winning the hackathon is not to have a great idea and concept. It's to show that there is a market and that you proved that you know how to capture value on this market. So instead of having a very boring market slide showing like all the size of the markets, I recommend you to use the user category, target user categories. For example, here for CFL, they were like, okay, we have 2.5 million traders, 62.5 million fantasy sport users, and we are right in the middle, so we can address 2.5 million users. Like, as simple as that. And the slide you see, it's also design you could steal, right? So who do you serve? What's the category? And what's your estimate about that? For Softcash, they had a triangle here. So not 2, but 3 category intersection: digital nomads, local crypto earners, and travelers that use crypto, right? And that gave them 75 plus potential users, right? We just want to see that first, you know, who is your target user, you made your research and your homework, and you can show us the potential. After the market, you can add, if that makes sense, like trends that shows that your market is growing. For example, here, 200% stablecoin growth in 2025, right? For Softcash, 153% growth in digital nomads, 179% growth in freelancers paid in crypto. So demand is growing as the market grows. Optional, only useful if you think the audience will be like, yeah, okay, but why are you different from this competitor that everybody knows? So if you do like Softcash and create a neobank on Solana, people will be like, oh, how are you different from Cast, for example? So if you think you really need to address this thought that every judge will have, then address it with a very simple competitive analysis, right? So not so many competitors, 2 or 3, just show briefly how you're different. And when you present, don't go through all the different aspects of it. Just point 1 or 2 that shows your superiority in a specific area. Then the market. So we understand the potential, basically. Now you need to show your machine, your engine, about how you capture value in this market, which is the business model slide. So most of the products here have a transaction fee business model. So just be very simple if it's simple. You know, some people have a business model slide and it just shows like the percentage of the transaction fee and that's it. What you see at the bottom right is more when you do a fundraise. So it's a bit different. You need to have some estimates about your growth and the ARR projections, but you don't need that for the hackathon. And this slide is non-negotiable. You cannot skip the business model slide. It's a very important one. Once we understand how you capture value, we want to see, okay, can you show me anything that proves that you can do it. That is not just like an hypothesis. And here comes the traction slide. One of the most important slides of the deck. If your traction is great, honestly, whatever you say, whatever you do on the rest of the deck, you win. I'm listening. And some of the team, they have such a nice, outstanding traction that they either put it before the problem, and I will come back to it later. If you, depending on the traction, you can, use it first to win authority from the very beginning and make sure like we all listening, or keep it right here after the business model. How to build a traction slide? You will pick 3 metrics. So usually users, but it can also be a specific metric for your product. If it's a game like here, number of match played. X followers, I don't recommend that. It's not really useful, and actually it's a red flag for many VC that we work with. When the team is using X followers in that traction, they're like, no, guys, come on. So try to have things that are as real as possible. You can have only like X followers and a wait list of 30 users at the end of the hackathon, but it will be much harder to win. So it's not just about pitching exercise here, it's also how you structure your efforts, right? So build your pitch first, put the traction you really want to have at the end, and then work backwards to make sure you can get this traction. Of course, the best traction of all is revenue. So if you can already show a proof of revenue, that's number 1. The second thing you want is you want to show that it's growing, right? Even if it's just your 3 or 4 weeks live, but if you can show week on week growth, that's good. That's important, right? What we want to see, it's growing already. So show how it's growing. If you want, and that's very useful, you can actually extrapolate this data to compare yourself with other app in the same vertical. So for example, here, Rootgo, that is like Pokemon Go for crypto, they're like, oh, we have 50% retention. It's 10x the mobile game average, right? So I know it's only like a few weeks or maybe a few months, but you can use that to your advantage and extrapolate the traction to show you're superior with the average of your industry. So here are a few techniques you can use for your traction slide. Here was Nomads, an app for travelers, and okay, so for them, they already have pretty solid revenue, right? 435K. But what's important, they show it's growing steadily, right? There is no month that is going down. So what we feel as a judge is like, okay, whatever we do, they will grow. And as a VC, actually, it's like that. We want to see a product that will win with or without us, so that we feel, oh, we want to be part of the adventure. So yeah, that's how you can show your traction. I spend a bit of more time because it's a really important slide. For example, here we had Nomu as well, like highlighting a few big data, especially their GMV, 1 million through their platforms, and so on. Awards here, if you use partners, because that's also something many teams do, they have like a partner slide or ecosystem partnership slide. Like, it's a slide very easy to replicate, and having a logo on your slide doesn't mean anything. So what I recommend is to have less logo of partners, but explain in a few words what you really do with them, right? It's not just we did a co-marketing, right? Do explain exactly how you work together. All right, a few more examples. 5 months in. So here for spend, you can use your stablecoin to buy anything on Amazon and now eBay. So they want to show number of orders, total amount of transactions here, and the user retention. Okay, then we go to the growth strategy. So, okay, you have a market, you have business model, you can prove you have an early PMF or early signal tractions. What's your plan to grow fast, right? So what's your strategy to get to 10,000 users, to 100,000 users, and etc. So put your target and outline how you will get there, right? Prefer 3 solid channels over 6 vague ones. make it simple. It needs to be real, not just something you thought yesterday. The roadmap slide, and you can see how simple those slides are, right? You put not 1, 2, 3, 4, but you really put the dates, Q2, Q3, Q4, etc. And 1 to 2, but my preference is one big thing that will happen, right? Will you launch on Seeker? Will you have a big partnership coming in? Will you open a new country? Something big that is linked with the user growth. And that basically we just have a picture, okay, what's going to happen in the next few quarters. That's it. Only on this slide you can use future tense. I will go back to it later. But yeah, of course, here you will explain where you're going, so you can say what we will do. For the rest, present tense. I will show you exactly how. You can have simpler roadmap. For example, what's coming up, and you have like two main features that you will release. That's also possible. And now we almost finished, and we're going to the team slide. So team slide is tricky because everyone has a team slide. Everyone has a few members on the team, and different roles in the startup, like CEO or partnership, marketing, dev, CTO. So if you just explain one by one who is who and who is doing what, it will be very boring, and you will not stand out at all. What you need to do instead is to find something outstanding that either only one or a few people of the team did, and combine those achievements and highlight them in your slide. A technique you can use here is like Ludgo. Bottom right, they got to get an advisor from Pokemon Go itself, which was pretty solid signal because they could get the top of the industry app as an advisor. And for solo founders, that's also a technique I recommend. Try to find 2 to 3 top mentors in the field, or ask them if you can get them as an advisor, and use that to show that you can engage people on your idea. That's the signal you want to show. But what we want to see here, and I will give you the example of Crypto Fantasy League CFL. Rather than going through the team member one by one, just highlight, okay, what did we do before? But one main highlight for them was we built a game. You can see at the top right. We got 320K users. So the signal is very clear. We did that before. We know how to build games. We know how to get users. We will do it again, right? So always think about that. We did something outstanding or exceptional in the past. We have the A team to deliver. Trust us that we are going to do it again. That's what you want to do with your team slide, not explain the background of each of the team members. And wrapping up here, you will have your conclusion slide. So that's also an important slide because you definitely cannot finish with "and thank you" and that's it, right? So you will remind the people what you're doing. You can have here more of a vision sentence, but you really need a call to action. Basically, if I want to know more, what do you give me? You need to guide the audience to a next step. So it can be watch a longer demo video. It can be, book a call with us, 15-minute call with the CEO, with me. It can be try the product, as simple, or go to the landing page, but give them something because that's extra time that you win. That will get adjusted from 3 minutes to maybe 5 to 10, and then to get more engaged and remember you better. So don't forget this call to action. All right. So as a summary, intro and hook, problem, solution, value proposition, features, demo. If you're doing something more infra, you can talk about the technology a bit more. Then the market, potential, business model, how do you capture value, traction, show me that you do it already, roadmap, where you're going, team, you're exceptional and you can do it again, call to action, give me something if I want more. That's it. That's it for the deck, guys. we're going to move to a quick last section that is some tips. But basically here, imagine that you want to run a marathon and you just go out of your favorite sports store and you buy all the super fancy and expensive clothes and then shoes. You're super ready. But if you don't practice, you will still fail poorly. So let me give you some tips about the delivery, right? It's not just about the deck. It's really a mix. The deck is probably 50% of the things here. So first, pitch like it's the first time. So know that the audience will feel and mirror your emotions. So that's why if you're rushing and stressed, they will feel rushed and stressed. If you feel confident, you know exactly what you're doing, you make some pause, transitions, then they will feel, the passion and the conviction. Because you worked so hard and so long on your product, many things for you is obvious, but never assume that it's obvious for the audience. That's why I say pitch like it's the first time. It's the first time that you pitch. So don't assume they know, and don't say things like "and obviously," "and of course," right? Because those feeling words actually shows that it's of course for you, but if you kill the surprise for me, you kill the pitch. So pitch like it's the first time. Number 2, pitch a teaser, not a full movie, right? I share that, but the audience has a very limited bandwidth. The brain is a machine wired to save memory energy. So you will stand out if you're concise and easy to understand. Don't just do another presentation, but make something that will earn curiosity and leave them wanting more. The goal is that they want to check your demo video or your tech video. The goal is that they want to dig in your weekly reports, that you spend time to do every week. But if the teaser is not good, they will not do that. So all the rest will also be screwed. So think as a teaser, don't say all, say only things that will leave them want more. Number 3, know who is listening. So the Colosseum team is not just a hackathon organizer, it's a VC. So they have an investment thesis, like what they're looking for, and they have a bias. They are looking for companies that can raise multiple rounds, they can generate massive revenues, and be valued at a high valuation. Colosseum judges are extremely busy and hear many pitches in a row. And for your events, demo days, participants, you're competing with their phone. So it's not just the best product that will win. It's not just the best pitch that will win. It's also if you fit in the playground. And the playground is fundable, scalable startups. So you need to build your pitch knowing that, because if you miss this narrative, you can have the best idea of the century or the best pitch ever, you will still not make it. Number 4, surprise starts with a problem. The easiest way to hook someone into your pitch is to say something new or something I never heard before. That's why, especially if you have a lot of competition, if many other teams might be addressing the same problem, your difference doesn't only come from your solution. It comes from how you present the problem in a way that I should feel as an audience, oh, I never saw things like that. Oh, that's the first time I hear something like this. Okay, I'm listening. You get my curiosity from the problem. So be creative about how you present the problem. The things people love is to learn founders' insights. You study the problems, you try this, you realize that, and that's why you built like this. Right? Storytell how you explored the problem and fixed it. That's how you will get attention. So start with what hurts. Now you know it, but don't start with the solution. And tell the story of a user in pain. Lost time, broken flow, missed opportunity. Right? I need to feel the pain. Number 5, if the problem you solve is niche or unexpected, it's even better. As I shared, audiences love to learn something new. But if it's too niche, like I have no idea what you're talking about, make it relatable with a smart comparison to win your hook. So for example, you can say, this product solved this for that, and we are solving this for that, which can be another target user, or another vertical of the industry. Don't forget the consequences of the problem if unsolved, and put your data here. Make your research, make sure you have some data to back what you say, because if it looks, the worst thing to talk about the problem is, so what we've realized is that blah, 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 or what we thought is, it cannot be an intuition. Okay, it starts with an intuition, but how you present it should be backed with data. Number 5, write every transition. Between each slide, you cannot be like, okay, next, or end, etc. You need a sentence that will glue your pitch together as a coherent narrative and funnel. So, for example, you can use sentences like, and that's exactly what we're solving, when you go from problem to solution. Or, okay, so how do we actually make money? It's much better than our business model, right? So this is very basic transitions, but you can put your energy to make sure each transition is logical, makes sense, and it's almost invisible, but the reaction is, wow, it makes so much sense. Right? So don't forget your transitions. It will also help you control the rhythm, kill the monotony of the pitch. 6, control what they see. Use animations. If you have 3 items on your slide, break it into 3 animations. Use this technique for the product features, for the roadmap, and this way, we should follow your voice instead of getting lost reading your slides. Right, so don't forget that. Use animations. If you don't, some people will jump right into item number 3 and stop listening to you while you're still at item number 2. So make sure you control what they see. 7, ban all conditional forms. The most common one is what we're trying to solve. I know it's very used, but it's like, what are we trying to do? It's conveying the fact that you're trying, but you're not doing, right? And that's very subtle, right? I know everyone uses it, but if you start to remove those kind of basic feeling sentences that everyone's saying, you will be different. So, and this is what we're solving, and this is what we've built. And it's same for the would, should, could, might, right? So use present tense. So very simple rules. For all the deck, present tense or past tense, what we do, what we've built. Only for the roadmap slide, future tense, because you talk about what is going to happen. And it will double the trust I have in your pitch instantly. So use this tip. Number 8, we go to the last few days, maybe the last week of the hackathon. Record yourself, right? Don't spend a few days to work on the slides, share the deck with other people, get feedback on the slides only, because that's not what is judged. So open your Loom, put your phone in selfie, however you want to do it, record yourself. Then let it stay for 24 hours. If you listen right after, you will be too harsh on yourself and you will not like it. So let it stay. And the next day, first you just listen. So you just listen, you don't watch the image, you just listen. And you start to analyze what's the feeling words you're using all the time. Anything that you say that you don't like. Is your tone always the same, or are you doing some changes in the rhythm? The second, just watch and cut the sound and see how you present. You know, are you using your hands? Are you smiling, or are you just very neutral? Right? You need to use that when you talk about the problem. You need to show it affects you. You know, when you talk about the solution, you need to be a bit more energetic, you know, and smiling. When you talk about the traction, you can be very serious. That's what we got. We know where we're going. So play with that and make sure that we see energy, because that's an entertainment exercise. And then you watch both and you fix it again and again. when we did the Radar Hackathon, even for the demo day that we won, or all the founders I coached, rehearsal is so important. Like, you need to rehearse at least, and it's not like exaggerating here, at least 50 times, right? And always time yourself, rehearse the transitions, practice out loud. Once you get your Loom ready, share it with mentors, with friends, get feedback, because it's really hard to know only on your own if you're doing well. So share it, pitch in public, and yeah, it should be so natural. Like, you cannot have your pitch and have the script and read your script, right? I mean, you can do that, but it will obviously be much less powerful, and the result will not be the same. So you need to know your script. First, you need to script. You need to know your script, practice it, that it becomes second nature, that you don't even need to think about it. It's just coming, right? It's same as when you learn to play an instrument, to play sports. First, you need to learn all the gestures and the techniques, but then when you master them, you have time to sing over guitar or to read the chord on tennis and so on. That's the same. And last, the stage rules. So check. So this is more like if you go to an event, but going to events and having some wins at events is also important, because you can use it as a kind of pre-traction, for example. But like, check the playground, and if it's just you recording yourself, make sure your mic is good. Just get a $30 mic, and it will triple the quality of your sound. Control your body, make sure all is clean. If you share your screen, do it full screen. I'm sharing basic things, but many pitch won't have that. So if you do that, you will also stand out. And look above the eyes is when you pitch at a live event, and you don't want to see people reaction or people not listening. And not going too much on that, I will share an article when I explain all the rules for stage, if you have a stage event coming up. But basically, create your stage and then enjoy it. So to finish with, conclusion words, your 3-minute pitch is your only window. That's the only thing that we will see first as a judge before going to checking your demo video, your tech video, your GitHub, your weekly reports, or even thinking about getting you to an interview, right? So treat it as it is, because that's the only thing we will see. And that's big responsibility, because all your work is just represented in 3 minutes. That's the harsh truth. So set your intention, block your rehearsal slots, and that's your road to winning Frontier Hackathon. Right. Yeah, just the turning point, all what you've built and who you could become in those 3 minutes. All right, conclusive words, resources to check. I strongly recommend to go on the Colosseum website and check the previous winners. You can check all their pitch videos. So, especially for we don't have track this time, but for your kind of solution, check the other products in the same field, like consumer app, deep DeFi and all, and see what they did, I will also share with you a small link where I put all the DePitch resources. We have some threads about do's and don'ts, pitch framework, some articles and all. I will also share a skill. So I've put all this framework in a skill you can use with your Claude AI or any agent, so that you can build your pitch with the same framework. And last but not least, you can also list on legends.fund, which is like product hunt for Solana, where we have many people visiting and many Colosseum judges as well that have the special link to scout products with a dashboard. So, some teams that won really stood out on this platform. I think it was 1 out of 3 Cypherpunk, so the previous hackathon winners, were on legends.fund first. so 30+%. If you compare that with the chances of winning in general, that can really increase your chances. So how does it look like? Set up your product page, put in your demo video, pitch video, everything, your traction as well. You can put where you're at week after week, how it's going. So traction can be live. Actually, it's so good because some teams had added the QR code of their product page on their deck, so that when the judge see the deck, the pitch, like 3 weeks later after submission, they can still update their traction and show that they continue to build after the submission date, which is actually what many judges want to see, is if you're still building even after the end of the hackathon. All right, compete for visibility. As a super team as well, we have a super legend battle, so all the Canadian teams here, combining all their upvotes, you can go to the top and claim your spot, which will overall benefit as visibility for all the teams. And here is the invite code that we can reshare later. So when you list with this code, you will automatically be linked with Super Team Canada. All right, guys, that was it for today for this workshop. So I know we a bit over the 1 hour, but I'm totally happy to stay a bit more for some questions. And I wish you a great pitching.
Sorry, Fib, I think you're a bit muted. You want to start over there?
I just noticed as you said that, and that's so funny. I was trying to say that was incredible, and thank you so much for that solid presentation. I love the patterns of, what you see that pulls a pitch down, the top things, which, yeah, that's important for people to hear and know about. Really easy to overlook in your own presentation. A lot harder to overlook when you're watching as a third party. Please put your questions in chat if you have questions. There was one that I wanted to raise from the chat. Someone was asking about the length of the pitch. I think if it's in regard to Coliseum specifically, but they're asking, do you think a 1-minute pitch is better than 3 minutes? Also showing a 20-second demo ?
Okay. So yeah, 3 minutes is the max. You can do 2 minutes, you can do 2.5. 1 minute, I mean, 2 minutes is already really hard to put what you want to say. The shorter you get, the harder it is. So 1 minute, that will be quite a performance. I personally don't recommend that. Use your 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. If you have 3 minutes, I would use most of it. And the demo part was answered, showing what you're doing early on, not at the end of the pitch, but just giving a brief visual of what you're actually working on so that whoever's watching the pitch has context early. I think that's also a very solid recommendation. And you heard me there, I said I think, and that was not very certain of me, and that should be erased from your pitches. Do as I say, not as I do. I know this to be true. Definitely a big thing I also see for builders is the tendency to use uncertain language, like trying to, or hope we aim to, which can be can detract for sure. What would you say about demonstrating, say, like a founder's personality, or how do you allow that to shine through in a pitch, especially one that's only 3 minutes?
So when I talked about the traction, I said a few things, and so basically, if your traction is outstanding, you can even put it higher in the pitch, so that you win authority from the beginning. if your founder profile is outstanding, you can also put it higher in the pitch to win authority from the beginning. So basically, just judge what's your biggest weapon here. Is it your experience as a founder? Is it your traction? And based on that, try to win authority as fast as possible. So we are listening. So as a founder, yeah, that's how you can do it. But we will see it about how you present, honestly. If the pitch is really, really good, we're like, okay, this guy is killing it. And then we learn about who's this guy by the end of the pitch.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in terms of the presentation style, should there be a lot of passion? Should it be more serious? Should it be more like comedic? I think a lot of people look to creative ways to stand out and be memorable, but have you ever seen that go too far or backfire?
Yeah. On the slide design, it needs to be, I need to see a strong brand identity, but it doesn't need to be super polished, like institutional deck or even an investor deck. So that's why you can have just one big image at some point and be like, okay, guys, this is you in 3 hours. Let's make sure it doesn't happen. Blah, 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 like you can really use that to make impact. That's the most important. Backfire, yes. If you like, the biggest backfire for me is like a really fancy, crazy demo video with animations, music, and it creates a pitch inside the pitch, and it's really hard to get back the attention after that. So I really don't recommend that. Or having your whole pitch as a video. Also, some people do that, like it's a full 3D animation. If you do that, we cannot feel the founder behind the pitch, and it looks a bit too much. I don't think that's what's expected. We want simplicity.
I have a question, and I'll take it while Fib is moving around here. This might be going a little bit outside of the scope of this conversation, of this stream, but let's assume that they killed it in the pitch and they got past the first filter and they got their first interview. Do you have any advice for founders that get the first interview with Coliseum?
The interview will be, so first, it's a really good signal. It means you did really well. But yeah, that's the final filter. And what they will check is the solidity of your business model and capability to scale. So that's where you really need to make sure that you worked on your numbers. So you're like, okay, you said you can get to 10,000 users in 3 months. How are you really going to do that? Or it can be really challenging. Like, there was this other app 6 months ago. They tried the same, they failed. Why are you different? Or they can challenge your moat, especially now. Why no one can copy you? And that's a very common question in the VC interviews. Before it was, what if Google does that tomorrow? But now these days, we don't even need that. It's like, what if anyone does that tomorrow? So how do you make sure you have locked your distribution model to make sure no one can replicate you? So that's the challenging questions you will have. They really want to make sure it's not just fancy numbers on the deck, but something you really worked on and you're prepared to fight back on any challenge questions. And also, honestly, it's more like, are you really serious about this? Like, is it just something you did for a hackathon, or is it like a company you can really work on for 5 years, for 10 years? And they will make sure of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. For sure. I think often for hackathon, sorry, my brain is so fried, and I had to close the door because my bird woke up and was very displeased that we were awake at this time making noise. But yeah, for the hackathon and getting to the interview stage, I think also something that's really important to demonstrate from not only what I've heard from like watching videos from YC, but also Maddie and other Coliseum team members have tweeted about it, is like they're looking for that hunger or drive, and I like to call it grit. YC calls it resilience, but that drive or that dog in the founder to keep going. So if that is you, then I would also recommend being authentic and showing that side of you, as opposed to trying to be like perfectly put together. Obviously somewhat professional, but still showing like that you have the drive and capability to work on this for the next 5 years, as Sofian mentioned. For sure. I don't see any more questions in the chat. Simon, do you have anything you'd like to add here?
Not in particular. I think we're good to start wrapping it up here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sofian, for joining us. So DePitch Academy has worked with thousands of builders across across the space, and can boast 16 Coliseum wins over time in terms of teams that they've supported, and a ton of funding raised after receiving coaching. So one of the things that I'd like to shout out is that if you are a Canadian founder or builder and you are building for the Frontier Startup Competition by Coliseum, then if you apply for Spark North, which is in Super Team Canada's pin tweet, you have the opportunity to receive feedback from Sofian directly. He will happily roast your deck if you make it in to the Spark North cohort. And that is a perk that we are extraordinarily excited to provide teams this year. And a few select teams will get a one-on-one coaching session with Sofian. So make sure to join the Super Team Canada Telegram and introduce yourself and what you're working on. And I believe some other super teams, if you're not in Canada, have also worked on something for this as well with you. Which other super teams are working with you?
We worked with Japan, France, Indonesia, and Ireland this year.
Massive. So that's a very exciting opportunity. Go to Super Team Canada's pin tweet and fill in the form for the possibility of receiving feedback. And yeah, definitely re-watch this and take into consideration all of this feedback, because after watching thousands of pitches and Sofian having watched even more, I'm sure, this definitely aligns with everything that I would recommend, and even some things that I never really thought about. So it's very exciting. Thank you, Sofian, and thank you everyone for joining us. It's almost 10 p.m. here in Toronto, so it's time to get going. But again, thanks for being here, and don't forget to join us tomorrow for the workshop on sticky products and your value proposition, which will be very critical and was actually a portion of the presentation tonight. So let's get granular with it. Go to the Super Team Canada calendar to get more information on that one. Thanks, Sofian.
Thanks so much. Have a good night,
Good night.
Bye-bye.